remember Clifford A. Morris. And Clifford A. Morris used to leave all of our voicemails on our SAR hotline. And they went something along the lines of this. So the pager would go off, beep, beep, beep. We'd call and we'd get, greetings, you've reached the San Diego County Sheriff's Department Search and Rescue Hotline. I know what the number is. And then he would go on, and this is Reserve Commander Clifford A. Morris, the commander of the San Diego County Sheriff's Department Search and Rescue Bureau. We are activating search and rescue. We have a mission for a missing person. He is missing because nobody knows where he is. Yeah, so sometimes we fall into that category. As search managers or as searchers ourselves, how many of you have ever done something stupid in the field? Never, right? Okay, when we were searching for a young woman named Lindy, and Lindy had lived in a fairly rural area of the county, and Lindy had a developmental disability. And in addition to her Down syndrome, she also had early onset Alzheimer's disease. So pretty significant risk for Lindy when she went missing, right? Okay, so it's about October, the end of September, the beginning of October 1997. And I look like Marge from Fargo, who's been stung by a bee. I'm like 42 months pregnant, waddling around, and I'm doing the interview. And she lives in a group home, a developmental disability care facility. And she's married to another resident there, and his parents own the facility. And everybody wears the size 8.5 ked shoe. Everybody. And so we're out searching, and we have teams going, I got tracks! And someone else goes, no, we have the tracks. Someone else goes, no, we have the tracks! And so I'm doing the interview, trying to really figure out where would Lindy go and what would she do. And I'm asking this really nice young man, David, about what is she like? I don't know. Where would she go? I don't know. What makes her happy? I don't know. And apparently I asked one too many questions because he looked at me and goes, lady, I just get to sleep with her. I don't know her. Okay. All right. So sometimes it's us, isn't it? All right. Now, when we think about search and rescue, and I'm going to move my slide forward here and try not to get too close to my zipper. Okay. Stupid people, they kind of like everywhere. But it really depends on whose definition of stupid, right? And so when we're talking about search and rescue and charging for rescue, that's the most common thing I'm hearing from people. Well, we'll just charge the stupid ones. Well, whose definition of stupid? And what if we charge that climber who was doing just fine until that cornice came down? Now, for me to go climbing, that would be incredibly stupid. But for somebody else, that's part of their life, and it's part of their adventure. And so when we think about what we bring to the table, I want you to keep in mind that professionalism and training and education and what we do is not something you save for the third Saturday of every month. Because quite frankly, what we do in search and rescue, a lot of people consider stupid, right? We go out, we have dogs, we wear orange clothing. How many of you think orange is sexy?
Yes.
You're my people.
Yes.
Okay? And we go out in the middle of the night, in the middle of the rain, and we go look for people who've gotten themselves into trouble by accident or design. And so when we look at professionalism, I want you to think about a man named Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. Anybody know Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman or ever heard any of his lecture, his series? Really fantastic guy. I've known him for a few years, got to meet him at a few different conferences. Other than the fact that he's about as tall as I am, and I outweigh him by a good portion, he's slightly cross-eyed, he points with his middle finger a lot, and he punctuates every other sentence with, "Booyah!" It's kind of fun and easy to talk to him, except for when I mentally picture him sitting next to his wife, and I know that he asked her, "Hey baby, you want to get married?" Booyah! But he is an expert on why children shoot each other in schools. He's an expert on violence. His books on how do we keep our children safe and our community safe and fighting terrorism, really top-notch, great stuff. And one of the treaties he wrote was a piece called On Sheep and Wolves. Any of you ever heard of this? Okay. What's a sheep? Most people. Is that a bad thing? No, they're nice people who get up in the morning and they take their kids to school and they go to work and they make the coffee and they switch the laundry and they volunteer in their community and they are people just like us. They are people who are used to their world being a safe place, because it's always been a safe place. Now, there are also wolves. And in his treaty, he considers wolves to be predators, people who purposely prey on others, terrorists, conmen, sociopaths, murderers. And those people are certainly out there. But the sheep and the wolves that we're dealing with are people like Lindy Smallridge, who just wanted to go out and get an ice cream cone. Or 3 teachers and an interior decorator who walked on a marked trail that Jerry Shad said was an incredibly easy, beautiful, scenic hike. I'm going to hit that man someday. And they just went out living their life. And the wolves that we face in search and rescue sometimes take the form of earthquakes, disasters, gas explosions in San Bruno. A young man who is spending his summer counting cheetahs and just goes into a river like he has done every day for the previous 2 years so that he can cool off in the river. The good news is there are also sheepdogs. Okay? And sheepdogs, whether you're a German Shepherd, whether you're a Pomeranian, no Pomeranians, you're a Great Dane, you're an Aussie, you're a Border Collie, it doesn't matter. Sheepdogs designed to protect the sheep. Think about that. Sheepdogs are designed to protect the sheep. How many of you have ever really kind of thought of yourself as a sheepdog? I know you might want to use a little flea collar, a little powder. Okay? And so when we think about sheep and sheepdogs, I want you to think about training and planning to train and how we train. And for most SARC teams in the country, and quite frankly across the globe, I just recently returned from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And it's a beautiful place, great people. But you know, 9/11 happened 9 years ago. And Hurricane Katrina and Rita happened in 2005. And Haiti happened a few months ago. And it happened in a land far, far away. And for most of us, we've gotten kind of complacent. And when we think about our trainings, how many of you, and you don't need to raise your hand, but I want you to think about this. How many of you training is reserved from Saturday, 3rd Saturday of the month, 8 in the morning to about 1, 2, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you put your stuff away, and maybe that MRE that's in your backpack's been in there for 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 years. And when was the last time you checked your rope? And when was the last time you checked your car? And when was the last time you did any of those things? When was the last time you changed the batteries in your own smoke detector? Okay. So when we think about sheepdogs, the sheep look to the sheepdogs. And in 2003 in San Diego, we had a man who, quite frankly, I think should be charged for rescue, only criminally charged. And he went hunting in San Diego County. He'd never hunted in his life. He brought a shotgun, some matches, and some marijuana. And when he got lost several hundred yards from a home, he set a fire in October. And that fire burned down 27% of San Diego County, hundreds of homes, and several dozen people died and were permanently injured because of his actions. And when those fires broke out not far from my house, guess what everybody did? In my neighborhood, they came to my house. Whose house are they going to go to in your neighborhood? Okay, and what's your plan? And how are you going to get out of this? There are really kind of 2 types of subjects that I think of. 2 types of people in the world. There's a great philosopher, Jeremy Bentham, who said there are 2 types of people in the world. Those who put people into 2 types and those who don't. I'm one of those who does. And there are people who have resources. They have every tool, every rope, every gadget, every gizmo in every color, and they never touch it. They don't use it. And when you ask them about it, they say, well, if I just had a longer rope, or if I just had a better knife, or if I just had this. And you know what? We give it to them, and they don't get out of their position. They don't get out of their situation. But then we have people who have resourcefulness. Not resources, but resourcefulness. Those are people like MacGyver. You know, I need to get out of here. Some bubble gum, some dog hair, and my Star City lanyard. Woo, we're good to go. Okay? And you know those people. They're the ones who you're out in the field and they can pull it in their backpack and pull out exactly what you need. And you can use that exact same item for 2 or 3 or 4 more different things, right? Okay? Here's a really good example of resourcefulness. How many of you have ever been blinded by a headlamp? Okay. How many of you have ever punched the person who blinded you with their headlamp? Okay. Well, I saw a dog handler who was tired of every time she looked at her dog, she had the headlight going into her dog's eyes and losing her dog's night vision. So you know what she did? She wrapped the headlamp around her belt buckle. And now, no matter where she turns, you can see where she is. She's actually got better light diffusion on the ground, and it's not shining into her dog's eyes. Talk about innovation, right? Talk about resourcefulness. She isn't sitting there going, well, if I just had a different headlamp. All right? And so when we think about these subjects, when you are failing to plan, or you are failing to plan, you are planning to fail. How many of you, your team, your department, your agency, whatever, has canceled a training because it was raining? How many of us have ever planned a night training that started at 2:30 in the morning? How many of us train on people that we've never met before? I see a lot of dog handling people and a lot of people on Craigslist. However, okay, the fact is that we must make our training match our reality. And you know, in that video that you just saw, the little clip of, you got to hear the most important part. And the background stuff on here is Dre, this little boy who has lost his father. His mom works for the auto industry and she's been sent to China. And he doesn't speak the language and he doesn't know the culture and he wants them to adapt to him.